Hello, my name is Tracy Allen, and I want to welcome you to Cooking with Some Friends. Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. We are going to make an alternative to a regular apple pie, and it's kind of a combination of apple pie and handheld pies. So we're going to make a flat apple pie, and the difference, one of the differences is you actually make it on a cookie sheet. But we're going to start with the crust, and I have in my bowl the shortening that I need, and I have 1.5 cups of shortening, and to that I'm going to add 3 3/4 cups of flour, and I need about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and then I want to add 1 egg, and then enough milk to fill that up to 1 cup. So I'm going to use my pastry blender and cut these things in first, the shortening into the flour and the salt. And then I'll add that milk and egg mixture. When I have that done, I'm going to roll this dough out, cut it in half actually, or divide it in half, roll it out to fit my cookie sheet, and then I will come back and show you what it looks like. My shortening cut in, a couple pieces I need to break up. Now let's add our egg and milk mixture. And go ahead and cut that in as well. I have my silicone mat out and my rolling pin so I can roll this dough out the size of my cookie sheet. Okay, we'll roll it out and I'll come back and show you the next step. So we have our bottom crust on our cookie sheet. Then we're going to do something kind of weird. We're going to take a couple of handfuls of corn flakes and put that over the bottom crust. Now this does one of two things. It will help absorb some of the juices from the apples so it doesn't overflow, but it also will lift those apples up a little bit so they cook a little more evenly. Now you could also, instead of corn flakes, you can use chopped walnuts or pecans, but we have kids that are going to be eating this and they're not crazy about nuts, so we're going to not do that. And on top of that, then I want to take the apple slices that I have. I have 10 Granny Smith apples that I cut up, and I'm going to put them over the cornflakes. All the edges, but not overlapping the edge. And if you have a few extras, that's fine. You can eat them just as apple slices, but we're going to get as many on there as we can. Part of that will depend on the size of your apple. My oven is hot, so. And I'm going to put foil underneath this just in case it decides it wants to overflow. But okay, now over the top of this, we're going to take, I have 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar and a little over a teaspoon of cinnamon that I want to mix together, and I'm going to sprinkle this over the top of my apples. And I haven't tried it. You could probably use brown sugar too, because I like brown sugar in my apple pie. It makes it kind of a caramel apple pie. And this may look like a lot of sugar, but Granny Smiths are pretty tart. So you want to make sure that you sweeten those up. Okay, now that I've got that on, I'm going to take about 6 to 8 tablespoons of butter that I've cut up, and I'm going to lay those all over the top. And then I will roll out my other crust and put it over the top. You can use a little bit less butter if you want to. It just wouldn't be as rich. Butter's starting to soften, it doesn't want to separate. So I'll roll out my crust, other crust, put it on the top, and then I'll be back. We have our top crust on. Now I'm taking an egg white and about a teaspoon of granulated sugar to make an egg wash that's going to go over the top of our crust. And then this is going to go in a 425-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes, or until the apples are tender and the crust is a golden brown. Just brush that on evenly. This will just sweeten up the crust a little bit and cause it to brown a little bit better. Just like any pie, you want to make sure you have a few slits in it to let the air out, so the bottom crust isn't soggy. Okay. We'll get this in the oven. So our flat apple pie is out of the oven and it's still hot. So I'm going to take about a half a cup, or 2/3 cup actually, of sugar, powdered sugar, and a couple tablespoons of milk. And this is what makes this flat apple pie just that much better. I'm going to start with 2, and I'm not being exact, I'm just slowing down the flow of milk. A teaspoon of vanilla. If I need more milk, I'll add it, but this goes over the pie while it's still hot. Add an extra sweetness to it. Just makes it a little more wonderful. And that is our flat apple pie. Get it all spread out. I don't have any empty areas, and then it'll be ready to go. Hello and welcome to Cooking with Some Friends. I'm here all by myself today. This evening my husband went off to a Royals game with one of my sons and grandsons. And so I'm finishing up getting ready for an event that the local club that I'm in is doing. We're a service club, and we have a grab and go coming up. And so you can see the rolls in the background that I've made. I made 150 rolls, and now I have a couple of desserts to make. So I'm going to show you the recipe for some Louisiana swamp cake. Now I also have shared or will share a recipe for a Mississippi mud cake, and there's some similarities, but there's differences too. So anyway, Louisiana swamp cake. I'm going to start with a few dry ingredients and mix those together and set them aside. So I have 2 cups of sugar, and to that I'm going to add 1.5 cups of flour and 1/2 cup of cocoa. Mix those together and then I'll set that aside. Don't know what I was thinking when I got groceries last time. I usually keep extra containers of or extra bags of flour and sugar and cocoa and just different things like that. And this morning my husband had to run up to the store and get some more flour for me for the rolls. He had to get some marshmallows for me because I thought I had enough and I didn't. And I'm using up the last of my cocoa, so I need to take better stock of my pantry. So I have those mixed. I'm just trying to get any lumps of cocoa that I have. And then I have 2 sticks of butter that are room temperature that I'm going to mix with 4 eggs. Okay, now I'm going to gradually add my dry to my wet, and as usual, I like to do it in about 3 additions. Just to make sure it gets well mixed. Now this cake has no leavening agent, so it's almost like a brownie texture for the cake part. Okay, now that I have that mixed, I'm going to scrape down the edges of my bowl, but I'm going to add to this 1 cup of chopped pecans, and I can find my spatula there for a minute. I've already sprayed my 9x13 that this is going to go in, and I've preheated my oven to 350. And you're going to bake this for about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, so I want to fold in my 1 cup of chopped pecans. And I have some coconut, and I have 2 3/4 or 2 2/3 cup. Got some of coconut that I'm going to fold in. I like to make desserts like this that have coconut in it when I'm going places, because my husband doesn't like coconut. So I get a little bit of the flavor because I can try it or eat some of it, but I don't have it all sitting here at home. So we want to spread this into our 9x13. And put it in our 350-degree oven. Okay, let's get it in the oven. 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, we've taken our Louisiana swamp cake out of the oven, and while it's still hot, you want to take a 7-ounce container of marshmallow cream and spread it over the top. I'm just going to dab it on to start with, and then I'll spread it in. Well, maybe I will. Get a spoon. Then after we spread this all over, we're going to let this cool completely before we ice the cake. And I'll show you the icing when we're ready. The warmer the marshmallow cream gets, the easier it is to spread. So I'll just continue to spread this as it warms until the whole cake is covered with marshmallow cream, and then I'll let it cool completely. You just need to be patient and let it melt down a little bit. So our Louisiana swamp cake has cooled completely. So I am ready to make the icing that goes over the top of this. And so we have a 1/2 cup of soft butter, and to that I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I want to add 1/3 cup of cocoa. And 3½ cups of powdered sugar. And I'm not going to add all of that at once. I'm going to do about 2½ to start with. And then I have a 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. I'm going to put part of it in there and go ahead and use my mixer. Add my other cup of powdered sugar. And the rest of my evaporated milk. And then this will be ready to put over our Louisiana swamp cake. Okay, I just need to scrape down the sides and get my cake iced. Thanks for joining us for this session of Cooking with Some Friends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And find us on Facebook at Cooking with Some Friends.